All right, so we've all heard, John. We've heard that there's an alternate Jaws story. Tell me more about it, please.
The alternate Jaws story. All right. Well, here's the funny thing about that. It's not really an alternate Jaws story. It's the true story of Jaws. See, what you saw in the movie is it was just them. There was a whole story they made up. They had like 50 hours of footage of this thing, but they cut it up to make it look like the shark, the fish, was the bad dude in this thing, right? None of that's true. All right. So here's what Jaws really was. Jaws was this just super hip fish back in the day, right? This is in the 70s, man, and there's a lot of hip fish in the 70s.
A lot of hip fish in the 70s. Absolutely.
So this cat, he's cruising the world, man. He's looking everywhere, and before it was a big thing, he's cruising the world looking for like good beers. Like he traveled to Spain and checked out stuff. He went out to Australia, went to the Great Barrier Reef, checked out all the hot chicks there because that's where all the hot chicks hang out, apparently, is the Great Barrier Reef. Drank Foster's and all that crazy stuff. Started head this way, hit up South Africa, hit the beaches down there because, it's a little bit of food for those guys, seals and stuff like that. Because sharks do like seals. There's no getting around that. And he hit up the West Coast and did Mexico and all that stuff and hit Baja and checked out, had Pacifico and, all the crap beers. He came back around South America and he had heard there's this really good beer that was made up in the Northeast. It's like a light beer, and that's one that he was supposed to hunt out. So he started at Florida and kind of worked his way up the coast, and he just kind of chilled out and he was working his way up the coast to find this new beer, and that's kind of where it goes. About the next question.
All right, but what about the part where he attacks the girl at night?
Oh, see, that's completely taken out of context because what happens, all right, so, this fish, Jaws, which wasn't his real name, but we'll get to that later. Jaws had been swimming for like 3 days. Like, he started down in Miami. He's been swimming 3 days up the coast. No good beer to be found. Very little food. He shows up in Amity Island, New York at like 2 o'clock in the morning. He's tired. I mean, he's worn out. And he's sitting there, he's kind of swimming around looking for a place to hang out, a place to go sleep. He looks up, and of course you can see the moon and it lights things up, and he sees this big white thing up in the water. And he was like, oh, sweet, a pillow. We'll go pick that up, go get my snuggle in, find a good place to lay down. So he gets up there. He doesn't realize that it was a girl swimming. It's her freaking tan line. She's butt-ass white, and the moon's shining on it. It's bright white. He thinks it's a pillow. He goes up there and checks it out. She freaks out. He freaks out. She punches him. He kind of loses it, freaks out. Next thing you know, there's blood everywhere. He just took off. I mean, like, completely took off. Went and hid out in these boats and, off the island a little bit. And then he decides, takes a couple days off and, gets some rest because he's, and he finally like, I'm going to go find this Narragansett lager that's supposed to be so awesome. So he hits the streets and gets out there, and he comes along this boat. It's a little tiny, crappy looking boat, and notices that this guy is just crushing these cans. I mean, just putting them down one after another. There's all over the boat deck. He's tossing these things overboard, man. I mean, he's littering. And so, he gets a little upset, and he goes up there and bumps the boat a little bit. And is like, hey, man, what's up? Why are you littering? And, from there, it kind of gets a little crazy. And that was, and the guy in the boat, of course, is Quinn, the boat captain.
So you're trying to tell me that Quinn was the bad guy?
Well, yeah, I mean, he was a drunk. He's just crushing cans right and left. Didn't even save any for Jaws. Didn't even offer Jaws a beer. He's sitting there he's polluting the sea with cans, just tossing shit overboard. Jaws comes up, it's like, hey, what's going on? He doesn't even offer Jaws one. And that's the only thing. Jaws just wanted a good beer. All he wanted. And next thing you know, Jaws is getting blown up. They're shooting guns at him and harpoons. So Jaws is like, hey, I'm just going to lay back and chill out. And they just kept going after him. They fire stuff into him, drags the boat halfway underwater. The boat's sinking. Jaws is like, all right, I'm trying to get out of here. Next thing you know, some dude shoots him and he blows up. And then, after a little while, Jaws' cousin find out, shows up, takes care of business. They kill his ass too. Then there's a 3D one where that was his brother actually came back in 3D, and he was he'd heard about the beer too, and he was wanting to check it out. But he was also still pissed off about his brother, from Amity Island the first time. And these guys just took it out on this poor fish that all he was trying to do was be hip, check out the beer scene around the world, and relax and have a good time. Check out the chicks. And these guys killed him, man. They killed a hip fish that never did anything to anybody.
All just in the search
For good beer, man. I mean, he was trying to crush a Narragansett lager.
For a good classic beer.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad. It's a sad story, but that's not the story you'll ever see.
Heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking.
Absolutely heartbreaking.
It's terrible.